Amina's breath caught, not at the rescue but at why. No one had ever fought for her creations. Ngozi's scream pierced the night. Have you lost your mind for this trash? Obinna hauled himself back on board, dripping, and handed Amina the ruined book. Some pages are salvageable. Their fingers brushed. Hello, bestie. Welcome. Please stay with me as I unfold this interesting romantic story. If you enjoy the story, please support us by subscribing to this channel and hit the notification button for more. Thank you. Grab your popcorn, sit back, relax, and enjoy the story. Lagos, Nigeria, night. The penthouse was silent except for the distant hum of the city below. Obinna Ease, a man whose name commanded respect and fear in equal measure, stood before the floor-to-ceiling windows of his 80th floor suite, a crystal glass of 25-year-old Macallan whiskey dangling from his fingers. The Lagos skyline glittered, a kingdom he had conquered. Yet the reflection staring back at him was hollow. Another empty victory, he muttered, swirling the amber liquid. 15 years earlier, ABA, Nigeria. Obinna, run. His mother's voice was raw with terror as flames engulfed their tiny fabric shop. 12-year-old Obinna watched, helpless, as the men, Chief Okon's men, laughed, their faces lit by the fire they'd set. His father, broken by debt, had signed over their livelihood to settle a gambling loss. That night, his mother collapsed, her weak heart giving out from the shock. We are nothing to them, she had whispered before her last breath. Promise me, you'll never be powerless again. Obinna's grip tightened on the glass. He had kept his promise. Through sweat, blood, and cutthroat deals, had built Ease Holdings from nothing. But the ghosts of his past slithered through his mansion's halls, whispering, "You're still that boy in the ashes." A knock interrupted his thoughts. Emeka, his oldest friend and legal advisor, entered, his expression wary. You missed the board meeting again. The investors are talking. Let them talk. Obinna scoffed, refilling his drink. Emeka sighed, dropping a file on the table. Chief Okon is making moves. He's lobbying against your port acquisition. The name was a match to gasoline. Obinna's glass shattered against the wall. That thief won't stop until he buries me. Emeka stepped closer, lowering his voice. You're slipping, brother. The ruthless Obinna I know wouldn't let emotions cloud his judgment. What judgment? Obinna laughed bitterly. I have everything and nothing. Rain began to pound against the windows. A violent Lagos downpour. Emeka hesitated, then said quietly, Money can't buy peace, Obinna. Maybe. It's time to stop fighting the past. Obinna turned back to the window, his jaw clenched. I fight until I win. But as lightning split the sky, something else caught his eye. A figure. A woman, drenched and shivering, huddled under a collapsed awning near his building's gates. Her clothes were threadbare, but even from this height, he could see the defiant set of her shoulders, like a wounded lioness refusing to fall. For the first time in years, Obinna felt something stir. Not pity, but recognition. Who is that? He asked softly. Emeka followed his gaze, frowning. One of the city's invisible. Forget her. You have bigger. Get my car? Obinna interrupted, already grabbing his coat. Emeka stared. What? Why? Obinna didn't answer. The emptiness inside him had just cracked open, and for reasons he couldn't explain, he needed to see her. Rain lashed against the tinted windows of Obinna's Rolls-Royce as it glided through the flooded streets of Victoria Island. His driver, Ike Chi, gripped the wheel tighter, shooting uneasy glances at the rearview mirror. Oga, the weather is dangerous. We should go back. Drive? Obinna cut in, his voice low but leaving no room for debate. Through the downpour, his eyes remained locked on her. The woman crouched under the skeletal remains of a market stall's umbrella, her arms wrapped around herself like a human shield against the cold. Something about her posture, the way she refused to cower, pulled at him like a hook in his ribs. Amina Lawal counted her breaths to keep from shaking apart. 1, 2, 3. The numbers were a lifeline, a trick Shed learned after 2 years on Lagos' merciless streets. The sketchbook clutched to her chest was her only dry possession, its pages filled with faces of people who'd never seen her. Rich women in designer gowns, businessmen barking into phones, security guards shooing her away like a stray dog. Move along, beggar. One had sneered earlier that day. Amina's fingers twitched toward her pencil, itching to capture his sneer, to turn cruelty into art, the only power she had left. But the rain had other plans. A sudden glare of headlights made her flinch. A car, no, a black Rolls-Royce, pulled up beside her, its window sliding down with a whisper. Obina studied her up close. Her dress was faded but clean, her braids frayed but carefully tied back. And her eyes, God, her eyes, were the exact shade of burnt umber head only seen in the rarest African teak. Wary, intelligent, alive. You'll freeze out here, he said. Amina's laugh was sharp as broken glass. And he'll thaw by morning. Go play hero with someone who believes in fairy tales. Aichi gasped at her audacity, but Obina's lips twitched. Finally, someone who doesn't grovel. I'm not a hero, he admitted. But I have a dry car and a guest room. Take it or leave it. Amina's gaze flicked to his tailored suit, his gold Rolex, trappings of a man who could crush her like an ant. Yet the rain slithered down her neck like icy fingers, and the shelter she'd been squatting in was now flooded. Pride or survival? As she hesitated, a shadow moved across the street. A lanky figure in a sodden hoodie, T-boy, a local street thief, watched the exchange with narrowed eyes. Had been trailing Amina for days, waiting to snatch her bag the moment she dozed off. Now his phone was out, snapping photos of the Rolls-Royce's plates. Click, click. Amina sensed the danger before she saw it. Her voice dropped to a whisper. Your kindness could get me killed. Men like you have enemies. And those enemies? They'll burn a rat like me to hurt you. Obina followed her line of sight, his spine stiffening. He recognized the threat. Chief Okon's spies were everywhere. Thunder growled overhead as Amina's fingers dug into her sketchbook. She'd sworn never to trust again, not after her stepfather sold their apartment and vanished, leaving her homeless. But the storm howled like the night she'd been thrown onto the streets, and Obina's car promised warmth. One night she bargained, and I leave at dawn. Obina nodded, reaching to open the door, but Amina recoiled. No touching. A beat of silence. Then, slowly, he withdrew his hand. Understood. As the Rolls-Royce pulled away, T-Boy's phone buzzed with a call. Chief? Yeah. I got something you'll want to see. The elevator doors slid open with a hushed ping, revealing a foyer larger than the homeless shelter Amina had been banned from last winter. Her bare feet sank into carpet softer than fresh sand as Obina led her inside, his silence more unnerving than any interrogation. Jesus Mary, she whispered, eyes darting across the panoramic view of storm-lashed Lagos. The city lights shimmered through rain-streaked glass like drowned stars. Obina watched her from the shadows of the hallway, noting how her fingers twitched at her sides. An artist's fingers, he realized, stained with charcoal and scars. Guest suites through there, he said, nodding to a double doorway. Shower, clothes, whatever you need. Amina's laugh was brittle. What I need is to know why a man who could buy an island is playing Good Samaritan. Alone in the marble bathroom, Amina's hands shook as she peeled off soaked layers. Steam from the rainfall shower fogged the mirrors, but not enough to hide her reflection. The protruding ribs, the knife scar along her hip. Don't scream and it won't hurt, the thief had hissed. She turned away, reaching for the plush robe. Her sketchbook lay on the counter, its warped pages gently steaming. Idiot. She should have refused the ride. Men like Obina didn't help. They consumed. Yet, he'd asked for her story, not her body, not her silence. In his study, Obina poured 2 fingers of whiskey, the ice cracking like bones. The security feed on his tablet showed Amina emerging from the bathroom, her damp braids clinging to the robe's terry cloth. She paused, then did something unexpected. She began to draw, curled in the armchair like a feral cat guarding its kill. Curiosity propelled him down the hall. The door was ajar. Amina's pencil flew across paper, capturing something with furious strokes. She didn't notice him until his shadow fell across the page. Jesus! She slammed the book shut, chest heaving. Obina froze. In that fleeting glimpse, he'd seen it. His own face, rendered in stark charcoal. Not the polished billionaire from magazine covers, but the man beneath. Eyes shadowed with exhaustion, mouth hardened by too many battles. You drew me, he said, stunned. Amina's knuckles whitened around the sketchbook. I draw everything. This is how I survive, she didn't say. A crash from the kitchen shattered the moment. Obina moved first, shoving Amina behind him as a figure lunged from the darkness. T-boy, dripping wet and wild-eyed, a kitchen knife glinting in his fist. Chief sends his regards. The thief spat, but his gaze darted to Amina. She's the payment. What happened next unfolded in flashes. Obina's fist connecting with T-boy's jaw. The knife skittering across marble. Amina snatching up a bronze figurine. Crack. T-boy crumpled, blood pooling from his temple. Silence. Then the wail of building security alarms. Amina stared at the unconscious body, then at Obina. You knew this would happen. He met her accusation head-on. I knew someone would come. Not when. Not who. Outside, the storm raged on. Somewhere in Lagos, Chief Okon was waiting for a call that would never come. And in the penthouse, 2 survivors stood amidst the wreckage, their fates now irrevocably tangled. Dawn bled through the penthouse windows as security dragged T-boy's unconscious body away. Amina stood frozen in the wreckage of the guest suite, her fingers still curled around the bronze figurine, now dented with the imprint of a human skull. Obina watched the medics load the thief into an unmarked van. Make sure he wakes up, he ordered Emeka through gritted teeth. I want names. Amina's voice cut through the tension like shattered glass. You used me as bait. Obina turned to find her clutching her sketchbook like armor, eyes blazing. The robe had slipped, revealing the knife scar on her hip, a mirror to his own scar from a long-ago assassination attempt. I didn't know they'd come tonight, he admitted. But yes, I thought proximity to me might draw them out. Amina's laugh was razor-sharp. Congratulations. Your experiment worked. She shoved past him toward the elevator. Wait, Obina blocked her path. The Golden Phoenix leaves for the Canary Islands in 3 hours. Come with me. Amina froze. Are you insane? After this? Especially after this. Obina pulled out his phone, displaying a photo, T-boy's burner phone, showing a text to CO. Got visual confirmation. Package is at East Tower. They've marked you now, he said quietly. On that yacht, you're untouchable. Amina's fingers trembled against her sketchbook. The rational choice was to run. But the streets had taught her one unshakable truth. Predators always circle back. 2 conditions, she bargained. 1, I get my own cabin with a lock. 2, you sit for a real portrait. No masks. No lies. Obina's jaw tightened. No one had demanded his vulnerability in a decade. Done. As Amina gathered her things, a familiar perfume invaded the penthouse. Jasmine and venom. Darling, I brought the contracts for. Ngozi's voice died as she took in the scene. Shattered glass, bloodstains, and a street rat wearing Obina's monogrammed robe, her manicured nails dug into her Gucci clutch. Who is this? Obina didn't flinch. Amina Lawal. She's joining us on the cruise. Absolutely not. Ngozi's smile could have frozen hell. The Okon deal is too delicate for distractions. Amina watched the exchange with artist's eyes. The way Obina's thumb twitched toward his scar, a tell. How Ngozi's gaze lingered on the dented figurine, fear. Actually, Amina said sweetly, I insist. She opened her sketchbook to reveal a chillingly accurate drawing of T-boy mid-lunge, with Ngozi's face reflected in the knife's blade. Silence. Ngozi paled. You little. Enough. Obina's voice cracked like a whip. Ngozi, the deal can wait. Amina, we leave at 8 a.m. Unseen by anyone, a maid in the hallway snapped photos of Amina's sketches, sending them to an encrypted chat. Unknown. She's more observant than we thought. CO. Then make sure she doesn't return. The yacht cut through moonlit waves like a blade, its decks glowing against the inky Atlantic. Amina stood at the bow, the salt wind tangling her braids as Lagos disappeared behind them. She should have felt safe. She didn't. Behind her, the party raged, champagne flutes clinking, Ngozi's shrill laughter ringing over jazz music. But the real danger wasn't the ocean. It was the game unfolding aboard this floating fortress. A shadow fell beside her. Obinna, holding 2 glasses of whiskey. "You're avoiding your end of the bargain," he said, nodding to her sketchbook. "My portrait." Amina took the drink, studying the scar peeking from his rolled-up sleeve. A jagged line too precise for an accident. "Knife wound," she guessed. "Someone got close enough to kiss you before they tried to kill you." Obinna's glass paused mid-air. Chief Okon's nephew, age 19. Amina's pencil hovered over paper. "You killed him." "No." His voice turned gravelly. "I fired at his leg. He bled out before help came." The confession hung between them, raw as an open nerve. Amina began to sketch. Not the ruthless billionaire, but the man haunted by ghosts. Ngozi materialized like a specter in diamonds. Adorable. The pauper plays Picasso. She snatched the sketchbook and froze. The page showed her, but not as she wished to be seen. The rendering exposed the tension around her smile, the desperation in her grip on Obinna's arm at the party. "You vicious little, give it back." Obinna's command brooked no argument. Ngozi's eyes darted to a crew member, the same maid from the penthouse, before flinging the book into the sea. Amina lunged. Too late. A year of work vanished into black waves. Silence. Then, splash. Obinna dove overboard. Gasps erupted as he surfaced, sketchbook in hand, waves battering the yacht's hull. Amina's breath caught, not at the rescue but at why. No one had ever fought for her creations. Ngozi's scream pierced the night. "Have you lost your mind for this trash?" Obinna hauled himself back on board, dripping, and handed Amina the ruined book. "Some pages are salvageable." Their fingers brushed. Electricity. Later, in her locked cabin, Amina peeled apart soggy pages. One sketch survived, the maid, caught whispering into a comms device. A creak outside her door. Amina barely had time to hide the drawing before the handle jiggled. Through the peephole, the maid, pressing something against the lock. Then, a voice from the corridor. "Captain wants all staff on deck." The maid fled. Amina exhaled. This wasn't a cruise. It was a hunt, and she was both prey and predator. The yacht groaned as it cut through swelling waves, the once calm Atlantic now a churning beast. Amina clutched the balcony railing of her cabin, her knuckles white as the wind whipped her braids like angry serpents. The storm mirrored the chaos in her chest. Obinna had dived into the ocean for her sketches. No one had ever valued her art. No one had ever valued her. A knock shattered her thoughts. "Amina." Obinna's voice was barely audible over the roaring wind. "Captain's ordered everyone below deck." She turned and froze. He stood drenched in rainwater, his white dress shirt plastered to his torso, revealing scars she hadn't sketched yet. A jagged burn mark, a bullet graze, a life of violence etched into his skin. Lightning split the sky. Amina's breath hitched. The thunder wasn't just thunder, it was gunfire. The storm wasn't just a storm. It was that night 2 years ago, when rival gangs had raided her art studio, when she'd hidden under a corpse for hours, when Lagos had swallowed her whole. "Breathe." Obinna gripped her shoulders, his touch startlingly warm. "Look at me. Only me." But Amina was spiraling. The yacht tilted violently. Crash. A rogue wave shattered a hallway mirror, spraying glass like shrapnel. Amina screamed, collapsing against Obinna as the lights flickered out. In the blackness, pressed between the wall and Obinna's heaving chest, Amina whispered her truth. "They torched my studio. My landlord sold me out for protection money. I woke up in the hospital with no ID, no money, just the sketchbook in my arms." Obinna's heartbeat pounded against her back. "Who did it? Does it matter?" Her laugh was broken. "In Lagos, the rich eat the poor. You know that better than anyone." A beat of silence. Then, "I was 12, he rasped, "when I watched Chief Okon's men burn my mother's fabric shop. She died of a heart attack that night." I swore I'd destroy him. Amina stilled. Here it was, the real Obina, raw and unfiltered. The man behind the empire. The emergency lights flared to life, casting them in eerie blue. Amina realized how close they were. Her lips a breath from his hands tangled in her hair where head shielded her from glass. Something unspoken crackled between them. Then, Obina? Ngozi's shrill voice echoed down the corridor. They jerked apart. As Ngozi approached, Amina noticed three things in rapid succession. The maid from earlier lurking behind Ngozi, her pocket bulging oddly. A faint clicking noise near the lifeboats. Obina's sharp inhale, head heard it too. Get inside. Now, he ordered, shoving Amina toward her cabin just as, boom, an explosion rocked the yacht's stern. As alarms blared and the ship listed dangerously, Amina spotted the maid sprinting toward the engine room, with a second device in hand. Obina was already running the opposite way, toward the bridge. Amina faced a choice: hide like a victim, or fight like she'd learned to on the streets. She grabbed a fire axe from the wall and gave chase. The explosion had ruptured the fuel line. Amina crawled through choking black smoke, the fire axe now slippery with blood. Farida's or her own, she couldn't tell. The maid's dying words echoed, check his safe. Another detonation rocked the hull. The steel floor tilted 45 degrees, sending tools and machinery crashing. Then she saw it. The second device, magnetic, blinking 3 minutes and 22 seconds, strapped to the main generator. No. Her artist's fingers scrambled at the wiring, but the plastique casing was sealed. Bomb-proof. Obina's ribs cracked against the navigation console as another wave hit. Mayday! May, the radio died mid-transmission. Through the shattered windshield, he saw the truth in strobe-lit horror. Lifeboat number 1. Sabotaged, ropes cut. Lifeboat number 2. Engulfed in flames. Deck below. Ngozi dragging an unconscious crewman away from the last raft. Since when does Ngozi play hero? His satellite phone buzzed. One word from Emeka. Okon has inside man. Amina's lungs burned as she kicked through rising seawater. The bomb's timer hit 2 minutes. Then a whimper. Behind a mesh gate, the ship's engineer, barely 18, legs crushed under debris, reached through bars. Please, the captain. He's... Amina's fingers closed around the bolt cutters floating nearby. Choice. 1. Save the boy and die with him. 2. Reach the deck and maybe live. She swung the cutters at the lock. On deck, Ngozi dumped the crewman's body overboard. Sorry, sweetheart, she murmured, wiping her prints from his neck. The syringe in her pocket clinked against Farida's spare detonator. Then she saw him, Obina, bleeding from a scalp wound, charging toward the last raft. Her manicured hand slid into her blazer. Obi, darling. ####004. The devil's choice. The engine room gate gave way. Amina hauled the sobbing engineer onto her back just as the bomb hit 1 minute. New problem. The escape ladder was gone. New sound. Gunfire on deck. She grabbed a floating corpse, God forgive me, and used it as a buoyancy aid. Kicking toward a ventilation shaft, the boy's whimpers in her ear. Ngozi's bullet grazed Obina's temple. You were supposed to die at sea, she screamed, the storm whipping her designer dress into rags. Obina lunged, dislocating her shoulder with a sickening pop. The second shot went wide, straight into the fuel tank. The explosion blew Amina clear of the shaft. She surfaced in a nightmare. The Golden Phoenix, a funeral pyre against midnight waves. Obina, wrestling Ngozi at the raft's edge. The engineer, slipping from her grip. Then a miracle. A rogue wave flipped the raft toward them. Saltwater blinded Amina as she fought the current. Hands grabbed her. Obina's? No, Ngozi's, nails digging into her wrists. You bitch, the woman spat. This is your FAU. A floating piece of shrapnel caught her throat. Amina watched the ruby spray frozen, until Obina yanked her onto the raft. Dawn revealed 3 survivors. 1. Obina, concussed, stitching his own arm with fishing line. 2. The engineer, in shock, humming a church hymn. 3. Amina, holding Ngozi's waterlogged satchel. Inside, a pregnancy test, plus a key to Okon's private vault, and a photo of Amina's old art studio. Before the fire, Obina's bloodied hand covered hers. Look, on the horizon, a ship flying Okon's flag. The Okon Corporation vessel loomed over their makeshift raft like a steel predator. Amina counted 12 armed men lining the rails, but no Chief Okon. Remember, Obina muttered as rough hands hauled them aboard. He wants me alive. You hell torture for sport. Amina's fingers found the hidden photo in her pocket, her burning studio. Okon's signature move. The guards shoved them into a windowless hold reeking of fish and diesel. Then the games began. Chief Okon entered with the quiet menace of a spider. Obina, you look hydrated. His gold-capped teeth glinted. And you, he grabbed Amina's chin. Must be the artist who survives fires. Amina spat in his face. Okon laughed, wiping his cheek. Good. You'll need that spirit. He snapped his fingers. A projector flickered to life, showing 1. Obina's board members, each with red excess over their faces. 2. The engineer, now lying dead in sickbay, an accidental overdose. 3. Ngozi's body, floating in the yacht wreckage, her belly slid open. Your whore was carrying your heir, Okon crooned. Pity. Obina's chains rattled violently. Okon poured 2 whiskeys. They'll trade you ease, the girl's life, for your Lagos port shares. Silence. Amina saw the calculation in Obina's eyes, 65% of his empire. Don't, she hissed. Okon grinned. Or better, let her decide. He slid a knife across the floor. Kill yourself, little artist, and he keeps everything. Amina lunged, but not at herself. The blade found Okon's thigh. Chaos erupted. Gunfire. Screams. Obina breaking free. Then a new horror. The ship's intercom crackled. All hands. Code Black. Nigerian Navy on intercept course. Okon scrambled back. Bleeding. This isn't over, ease. I know about her sister. Amina froze. Adana? Navy commandos rappelled onto the deck. Emeka burst in, gripping Obina's shoulders. We tracked Okon's. Jesus, what did he do to you? But Obina was staring at Amina. What sister? Before she could answer, a commando shouted. Sir, we found something below. The hatch exploded open. There stood Adana, alive, in an Okon Corp uniform. Adana's pistol wavered between Obina and Amina. You left me to burn, she whispered. Amina's world shattered. The naval ship's hold was silent except for the creak of metal and Adana's ragged breathing. The pistol trembled in her grip, aimed at Amina's heart. You watched our home burn, Adana whispered. You ran and left me inside. Amina's knees threatened to buckle. The sister she had mourned for 2 years stood before her, alive but unrecognizable. Adana's left arm was a twisted landscape of burned scars, her once bright eyes hollow with hatred. I searched for you in every hospital, every morgue. Liar. Adana's scream echoed off the steel walls. Okon pulled me from the flames while you hid like a coward. Obina stepped forward, but a commando's rifle barred his path. Lagos, 2 years earlier. Smoke choked the hallway as 26-year-old Amina crawled toward Adana's bedroom. The fire roared behind her, melting family photos to sludge. Adana! She screamed her sister's name until her voice broke. Then, a hand yanked her backward. She's gone. Their landlord, Mr. Bello, dragged Amina toward the exit. The beams collapsed. A final glimpse. Adana's silhouette vanishing into smoke as armed men carried her away. Amina's tears cut through the grime on her face. They told me you were dead. They showed me a body, a decoy. Adana spat. Okon saved me, gave me purpose. And today I finally repay my debt. Her finger tightened on the trigger. Bang! Amina flinched, but no pain came. Emeka stood in the doorway, his sidearm smoking. Adana collapsed, clutching her bleeding shoulder. No! Amina lunged for her sister as Obina wrestled the gun away. She's a trained Okon operative, Emeka warned. That uniform? She's been on his payroll for 18 months. Amina cradled Adana's head, her fingers coming away sticky with blood. Why? Adana's laugh was a broken thing. He promised me you. In the makeshift brig, Adana confessed between gritted teeth. Okon's plan: use her as bait to destroy Obinna through Amina. The studio fire, orchestrated by Okon to recruit Adana. Today's mission: kill Amina to break Obinna before the port deal signing. He knew you'd search for me forever, Adana whispered. That you'd never suspect your own flesh and blood. Amina recoiled as if struck. This wasn't her sister, this was Okon's masterpiece. As medics loaded Adana onto a helicopter, she grabbed Amina's wrist. Ask him about the Calabar massacre, she hissed. Ask your billionaire what he did to Okon's first family. Then she was gone, vanishing into the storm clouds like the ghost she'd always been. Back in the officers' quarters, Obinna paled at the name. Calabar was collateral damage. Emeka slammed his fist on the table. We agreed never to speak of that night. Amina watched the unspoken pass between them, a history written in blood. What aren't you telling me? She demanded. Obinna's hands shook as he poured whiskey. Okon had a wife, 2 daughters. They were in the factory that night. What factory? The one I burned to the ground. As the words hung in the air, the ship's radio crackled. Mayday! Mayday! Okon's forces are attacking Lagos port. And in Amina's pocket, Adana had slipped a note. He'll lie about the fire, just like he lied about me. The naval cruiser's deck vibrated beneath Amina's feet as Lagos skyline erupted in orange firelight. Okon's forces had struck the exact port Obinna was fighting to control. A message written in gasoline and shrapnel. He knew we'd survive, Obinna growled, gripping the railing. This was never about killing us. It's about exposing me to you. Amina unfolded Adana's note with shaking fingers. The paper smelled of antiseptic and betrayal. Ask him why our landlord really sold us out. Flashback, Lagos, 2 years earlier. Mr. Bello groveled at Obinna's office, his forehead pressed to the marble. Please, Oga ease. The renters in Block C are artists, no proper jobs. Let me evict them for your new. Burn it, Obinna said without looking up from his contracts. Insurance pays better than squatters. The landlord hesitated. There's a girl, Amina Lawal, her sister is not my problem. Obinna slid an envelope across the desk. Make it look like gang violence. Back on the ship, Amina's slap echoed like gunfire. You murdered my sister twice. Once in flames, once in hope. Obinna didn't deny it. I didn't know you. Not then. Emeka stepped between them. We're under attack and you're fighting ghosts? Look, the surveillance screen showed Okon's men planting explosives at Ease Holdings headquarters, where Obinna's vault held every dirty secret, including, Amina realized, proof of who really burned her studio. A commando rushed in, holding a blood-stained file. From the Okon operative's pocket, sir. The document froze Amina's blood. Subject: Adana Lawal. Acquisition date: Night of Fire. Process: 14 months behavioral conditioning. Trigger phrase: ask him about Calabar. She wasn't rescued, Amina whispered. She was kidnapped and brainwashed. Obinna's jaw tightened. Okon took a broken girl and remade her into a weapon. Against me. Against you. The radio blared. Ease Tower is compromised. Repeat. Emeka grabbed Obinna's arm. If that vault opens, we're all dead. But Amina was already moving toward the helicopter. Adana's in their custody. I'm going. Obinna blocked her path. It's what they want. Okon's using her to what? Amina screamed. Make me choose between truth and family? You did that first. In the end, they split forces. Obinna v. Emeka. To Ease Tower via military chopper. Amina, with 2 commandos to track Adana's transport. As the helicopters parted ways, Amina pressed a hand to the glass, watching Obinna's silhouette shrink into the smoke. Adana's transport had crashed in the Lekki slums. Amina found her sister slumped against a burnt-out car, the wound in her shoulder weeping crimson. You came, Adana croaked. Even after knowing. Amina reached for her. Click. A pistol pressed to her ribs. Not Adana's. Chief Okon's. Hello, little artist, he purred. Let's discuss what really happened that night. Okon's men dragged Amina into a waiting van as Adana screamed. No. You promised. The last thing Amina saw was her sister's tear-streaked face. Not a traitor's mask, but a victim's terror, before the door slammed shut. On the floor of the van, a newspaper headline yellowed with age. Ease Industries factory fire kills 42, and circled in red, a photo of a young Obina walking away from the flames. The armored van smelled of sweat, gun oil, and the coppery tang of fresh blood. Adana's blood, still wet on Amina's hands. Chief Okon lounged across from her, cleaning his gold-capped teeth with a switchblade. Your sister fought like a wildcat when we took her, he mused. Broke 2 of my men's noses before the drugs kicked in. Amina's chains cut into her wrists as she lunged, only to be yanked back by a guard. Okon sighed, and here I thought artists were civilized. He tossed the newspaper in her lap. Recognize that pretty face? The headline screamed, Ease Industries factory fire, 42 dead, including Okon family. The photo showed a 25-year-old Obina in a tailored suit, stepping over charred bodies while talking on a satellite phone. Collateral damage? Okon's voice dripped venom. My wife was 8 months pregnant when your billionaire burned them alive. The van stopped at a nondescript warehouse. Okon dragged Amina into a concrete room where surveillance feeds showed Obina storming Ease Tower. A live video of Adana strapped to a chair, gagged. A surgical tray of gleaming instruments. Let's play a game, Okon whispered. For every lie Obina tells tonight, I remove one of your sister's fingers. A screen flickered to life. Obina stood before his vault, inputting codes. Obina's vault door hissed open, revealing 1. Land deeds, including Amina's burnt studio, purchased weeks before the fire. 2. Blackmail files on politicians, judges, even Emeka. 3. A blood-stained ledger detailing payments to Mr. Bello and Chief Okon's late brother. This proves nothing, Obina snapped to Emeka. Proves everything, Emeka countered, holding up a contract. You paid Okon's brother to torch the factory for insurance money. The man double-crossed you, brought his family to hide there that night. Obina's face went ashen. I didn't know. Bang. Emeka shot the vault's server stack. Now nobody does. Amina watched in horror as Okon grabbed Adana's hand. Obina just lied about his ignorance, he cooed. Say goodbye to Pinkies. The bolt cutters snapped down. Wait, Amina screamed. I can get you real revenge. Not on her, on him. Okon paused. How? Amina's voice dropped to a whisper. I know where he keeps his mother's wedding ring. The one thing he'd die to protect. Flashback, the yacht storm. Obina, half delirious from pain, had murmured, If I don't survive, tell Emeka. The ring is in Calabar, beneath the bomb tree. Now Amina spun her lie. It's buried where the factory burned. He visits every year on the anniversary. Okon's eyes lit with unholy glee. Well, dig it up together. As Okon's men loaded Amina into another van, Adana's gag slipped. Amina, the ring is. A guard pistol whipped her into silence. But Amina had seen it, her sister's fingers were intact. The bolt cutters were rubber props. This was all a test. The convoy raced toward Calabar, passing a billboard for Ease Holdings. Okon stroked Amina's hair like a pet. Funny thing about fires, they always point back to who started them. Then his phone buzzed with a photo. Emeka standing over Obina's unconscious body in the vault. Holding a gasoline can. The convoy screeched to a halt at the abandoned factory grounds, where the skeletal remains of the building stood like a graveyard of charred bones. The air still smelled of burnt rubber and death. 16 years later, Okon's men dragged Amina toward a gnarled bomb tree, its roots twisting through the ruins like veins through a corpse. Dig, Okon ordered, pressing a shovel into her hands. Amina's fingers trembled. Not from fear, but from the realization that Adana had lied for her. The ring wasn't here. It was never here. But if she stalled long enough, maybe Obinna would. Gunfire. One of Okon's men dropped, a bullet between his eyes. Black-clad figures emerged from the smoke. Not Obinna's men. Emika's. Okon roared, grabbing Amina as a human shield. You double-crossing bastard. Emika stepped forward, his rifle trained on Okon's skull. Let her go. This was never about her. Amina's blood ran cold. What game was this? Then she saw Obinna, battered but alive, being hauled forward by Emika's men. His left eye was swollen shut, his lips split. Amina, he rasped. Don't believe a word he. Emika pistol whipped him into silence. Emika tossed a file at Okon's feet. Inside, bank transfers from Okon's brother to Obinna's mother before the fire. A death certificate proving she was poisoned, not burned. A faded photograph of a young Obinna weeping over her body. You thought he burned your family? Emika laughed. No, his mother did. And then she paid your brother to frame him. Okon staggered. Lies. Truth. Emika's smile was venomous. She knew Obinna was weak. Knew he'd never be ruthless enough to build an empire. So she made him a monster. Amina's mind reeled. If Obinna's mother framed Okon's family. If Emika had known all along. If none of this was what it seemed. Then whose side was anyone on? Okon's grip on her tightened. Then why save him now? Emika's finger curled around the trigger. Because today everyone burns. A Molotov cocktail shattered against the bomb tree. Flames erupted, swallowing the roots, the files, the past. Okon threw Amina aside, lunging for Emika. Obinna broke free, tackling Amina to the ground as bullets flew. In the chaos, Amina saw it. Lodged in the bomb tree's bark, where the firelight glinted off gold. A wedding ring, his mother's. Amina grabbed it, just as the tree exploded, the flames swallowing Okon whole. Emika's laughter echoed through the inferno. Now you know, little artist. Now you see. And in her palm, the ring's inscription burned against her skin. The truth will not save you. The explosion's shockwave hurled Amina into the dirt, the wedding ring searing her palm like a brand. Around her, the world dissolved into fire and screams. Okon's men dying, Emika's soldiers advancing, Obinna shouting her name through the smoke. She uncurled her fingers. The gold band glowed red-hot, its inscription now legible in full. The truth will not save you, it will crown you. Beneath the words, a tiny hinge clicked open, revealing a microchip. Emika's boot crunched on glass beside her. Give it to me. His rifle barrel pressed into her temple. Obinna lunged from the smoke, bloody and half-blind. But Emika's men pinned him down. All these years, Obinna choked. You knew it was her? Emika's laugh was a blade twisting. Your mother paid me to guide you. Make him ruthless, she said. Make him king. He snatched the ring. But kings get overthrown. Amina saw it then, the vault files hadn't been destroyed. Emika had staged the shooting, staged Obinna's betrayal. All to steal what the ring contained, the Ease Empire's master keys. As Emika turned to leave, Amina spat blood at his feet. You missed something. She opened her other hand, a charcoal sketch torn from her pocket. The drawing showed Emika whispering with Okon's brother. In front of the burning factory. You were both her pawns, Amina hissed. Emika froze. Then his smile returned. Doesn't matter now. He raised his gun. Bang! Emika collapsed, clutching his thigh. From the flames emerged Adana, gripping a smoking pistol. Her Okon Corp uniform streaked with soot. Sisters first, she rasped. Emika's men hesitated, then fled as the bomb tree's roots exploded, showering the battlefield with embers. Obinna crawled to Amina, his breath ragged. The chip holds my mother's confession. Proof I didn't. I know, Amina cut in. She'd seen it in his eyes all along. The guilt of a man who'd been framed by the one person he loved. Adana tossed her a second gun. We finish this together. But Obinna grabbed Amina's wrist. No, you take the chip to the Phoenix. It's the only safe place left. As Amina and Adana fled through the smoke, a final horror unfolded. On the horizon, Obina's superyacht, the Golden Phoenix, erupted in flames. Emika's last move. And in the water, something worse. Dozens of Okon's speedboats, closing in. Amina gripped the microchip. Some truths were weapons. Some fires never died. And this one, it would burn them all. The Golden Phoenix burned like a funeral pyre against the night sky, its skeleton reflected in the oil-slick waves. Amina and Adana cut through the water in a stolen speedboat. The microchip clenched between Amina's teeth like a predator carrying its kill. Behind them, Okon's fleet closing in. The shore still glowing from the Calabar inferno. And somewhere in that smoke, Obina left to die. Adana gunned the engine. He's gone, Amina. Amina spat the chip into her palm. Not yet. In a deserted fishing shack on the coast, Amina plugged the chip into a stolen satellite phone. The screen flickered to life, revealing Ease Holdings Master Vault. Final recording. A woman's face filled the screen. Obina's mother, Victoria Ease, her beauty sharp as a guillotine. If you're seeing this, I'm dead. And my son, my poor, weak son, has finally learned the truth. The video cut to security footage. A young Victoria slipping poison into Okon's brother's drink. The same night, her paying Emika to plant the factory bombs. And finally, her whispering to a teenage Obina, "Power isn't taken, child. It's burned into them." Adana crossed herself. This woman was the devil. Amina's hands shook. And she made Obina her masterpiece. Lagos news channels erupted with breaking reports. Ease Holdings CEO declared dead in Calabar Inferno. Interim leadership. Emeka Onyema appointed. The footage showed Emeka addressing press outside Ease Tower, wearing Obina's signature cufflinks. "My dear friend's last wish." He paused for theatrical tears. Was for me to cleanse his empire. Amina's blood turned to ice. Cleanse meant one thing: burn every trace of Obina's legacy, including witnesses, including her. Shadows moved outside the shack. Amina barely yanked Adana behind the fridge before gunfire shredded the walls. Emika's men, Adana hissed, reloading her stolen pistol. They're executing anyone linked to Obina. Through the bullet holes, Amina counted 6 shooters in tactical gear. And in their leader's hand, a photo of her and Obina on the yacht. They fled through the swamp, bullets kicking up mud. Adana took one in the shoulder. Amina dragged her into the brackish water, alligators sliding past their legs. "Leave me," Adana gasped. "Never again." Amina hooked an arm around her. Then a miracle, a familiar voice. "Over here." Captain Idris, Obina's old yacht skipper, beckoned from a hidden airboat. "Hurry, before the drones spot us." As the airboat roared through the mangroves, Amina spotted something impossible on the news feed. Security footage from Ease Tower's lobby. A bloodied figure stumbled past the cameras at 3:17 a.m. Obina, alive, and holding a gasoline can. Captain Idris handed Amina a burner phone. A single text glowed on screen. "The Phoenix rises at midnight. Bring the chip." But as the boat rounded the bend, Adana's fingers closed around Amina's throat. "Sorry, sister," she whispered. "Some debts even blood can't repay." Behind them, Emika's attack helicopter crested the trees. Adana's fingers dug into Amina's windpipe, her once terrified eyes now gleaming with cold calculation. The airboat rocked violently as Captain Idris shouted, then went silent as Adana's hidden knife found his ribs. "Okon promised me freedom," Adana hissed. "All I had to do was deliver you and the chip." Amina's vision darkened at the edges, but her fingers found the half-charred sketch in her pocket. Last resort. She slammed the paper into Adana's gunshot wound. Her sister screamed, grip loosening, just enough. Amina twisted free and kicked Adana overboard into the gator-infested waters. The burner phone buzzed again. Not a text this time, a live feed. Obina's face filled the screen, his left eye a ruined mess, his lips cracked with burns. Behind him, Ease Tower's executive suite burned. "Amina." His voice was raw smoke. "The chip is worthless. My mother lied again." The screen split, showing left side. Victoria's confession video, glitching at a never-before-seen frame. Emeka handing her the poison vial. Right side. Security footage from last night. Emeka planting the gas can in Obina's unconscious hand. He's not just stealing my empire, Obina rasped. He's rewriting history, and you're the last witness. The attack helicopter's spotlight found the airboat. Amina dove into the mangroves just as machine gun fire shredded the hull. Branches tore at her skin as she waded through muck and rotting roots. Somewhere behind her, Adana screamed. Whether from gators or bullets, she couldn't tell. The phone buzzed once more. Coordinates. Lagos underground. 11:59 p.m. And a final warning. Trust no one who knew your name before the fire. The coordinates led to a derelict subway tunnel beneath Eco Hotel. Amina expected Obina. She found Ngozi instead. The woman who'd tried to kill her on the yacht now stood in tactical gear, an assault rifle slung across her pregnant belly. Before you stab me, Ngozi said dryly. Know this, that baby wasn't Obina's. It was Emeka's, and he just ordered my execution. She kicked open a rusted door, revealing a war room, a sleeping Obina on a med cot, and a wall-sized map of Lagos with one location circled in red, Victoria's secret vault. Ngozi handed Amina a dossier. Inside, photos of Amina's childhood, taken years before she met Obina. Bank receipts showing payments to her art school, from Ani. A contract for her studio's lease signed by Victoria Ease. You were never random, Ngozi said. Victoria groomed you as Obina's weakness. Then she burned you to make him stronger. Amina's knees buckled. All of it, the fire, the suffering, even Adana's betrayal, was orchestrated. A groan came from the cot. Obina's surviving. I fluttered open, locking onto Amina. The vault. He coughed blood. It's not a place. It's a person. Ngozi's radio crackled. All units, target sighted near Eco Atlantic. Maximum force authorized. Amina's face flashed on the screen. Wanted. Dead or alive. Obina's trembling hand pressed a key into Amina's palm. Not metal, flesh. A fingerprint preserved in resin. Find him, Obina whispered. The only man my mother ever feared. The door exploded inward. Emeka's death squad poured in. And in the chaos, Ngozi tossed Amina a grenade. Time to burn the kingdom down. The grenade's blast hurled Amina into the subway tunnels, the concussion wave ringing in her skull like a funeral bell. Smoke and screams filled the passage as Ngozi's rifle spat fire behind her. Go! Ngozi's voice cut through the chaos. Find him before Emeka does. Amina ran, the resin-encased fingerprint burning a hole in her palm. Who was the man Victoria feared? And why did his identity hinge on her? Dawn found Amina in a derelict church in Badagry, where the walls whispered with the ghosts of slaves and sinners. She pressed the resin to the light. The fingerprints' ridges formed a distinct spiral. A memory struck like lightning. Her 8th birthday. A man with spiral scars on his fingertips handing her a charcoal set. Draw your truth, little queen. Her art mentor. The one who vanished after the fire. Adebanjo. The name came with a second memory. Victoria Ease watching them from a black sedan, her eyes hungry. Amina's burner phone buzzed. A news alert. Breaking. Ease holding stock plummets as CEO's crimes exposed. The attached video showed Emeka at a press conference, unveiling proof of Obina's crimes. Faked documents linking him to child trafficking. Doctored audio of him ordering Amina's assassination. And worst of all, a staged video of Obina confessing to all the fires. But Amina saw what others didn't, the faint scar on Obina's wrist. Emeka had used a body double, which meant the real Obina was still alive, and Emeka didn't have him. Adebanjo's studio was exactly as she remembered. A skeletal ruin of charred canvases and shattered clay. But the man was gone. Instead, Amina found 1. A map of Lagos with 12 locations marked in blood-red ink. 2. A locked chest with a biometric scanner. 3. A fresh charcoal sketch of her own face dated yesterday. Her fingers trembled as she pressed the resin fingerprint to the scanner. Click. The chest opened, revealing A syringe labeled Memory Serum, Victoria's Formula. A deed to the land beneath her burnt studio, in Amina's name. And a child's bracelet engraved, "To Amina, from your real father." A shadow moved behind her. Amina spun, grabbing a rusted scalpel, and froze. Adebanjo stood in the doorway, his once strong frame now skeletal, his scarred fingers clutching a pistol. "You weren't supposed to remember," he rasped. Then came the truth. He wasn't her mentor. He was her father. And Victoria had him tortured to erase Amina's past. "She took you from me," he whispered, "made you a pawn. But the vault?" He tapped his temple. "It's here. Every secret. Every sin." Helicopters thundered overhead. Adebanjo pressed a second syringe into Amina's hand, a neural upload drive. "Your memories are the key," he said. "The only copy of Victoria's confession." Then he stepped into the sunlight, arms raised. A sacrifice. "Tell Obina." Gunfire cut him off. Amina ran as her father fell, his blood soaking the earth where her childhood burned. In the shadows of the alley, a familiar figure waited. Adana. Her sister's arm was bandaged, her eyes hollow with pain. "He's alive," she whispered. "Obina." But Emika's turning Lagos into a funeral pyre to smoke him out. She handed Amina a phone. On screen, Obina, shackled in an iron chair, his one good eye glaring at the camera. Emika's voice hissed from the speakers. "Bring me the girl and the syringe, or watch him burn alive at sunset." Sunset painted Lagos in funeral hues as Amina stood on the third mainland bridge, the neural syringe hidden in her sleeve. Below, the lagoon shimmered like spilled oil. Ahead, Emika's men formed a gauntlet, their rifles trained on her chest. Adana walked beside her, her breath shallow. "Remember, hell shoot Obina the second he has the syringe." Amina's fingers brushed the scalpel strapped to her thigh. Adebanjo's last gift. "Then we don't let him have it." At the bridge's apex, Obina knelt in a pool of his own blood, his face a ruined mask. Behind him, Emika pressed a pistol to his temple. "Little artist." Emika's smile was a razor slit. "You brought my property." Amina held up the syringe, but not the one from the vault. This one bore Adebanjo's spiral scar symbol. "You want Victoria's confession?" She stepped closer. "Then let him go first." Emika laughed. "You think I care about truth? I just need to erase it." His finger tightened on the trigger. Obina moved. His chains shattered, fake. His ruined eye opened, paint. And the scalpel Amina threw? It found Emika's gun hand a second before Obina broke his nose with a headbutt. Chaos erupted as Ngozi's sniper team picked off Emika's men from the lagoon's dredge ships. Adana tackled Emika's lieutenant into the water. And Obina, now holding Emika by the throat, snarled, "You forgot one thing." He ripped open Emika's shirt, revealing the same spiral scar as Adebanjo's. "You're his son too," Obina spat. Victoria's backup heir. Amina plunged the real syringe into Emika's neck. Not to erase, to remember. Emika's scream curdled as the serum forced his brain to replay. Victoria injecting him at age 6, whispering, "You'll forget your real father." Him watching as she tortured Adebanjo. And finally, him helping burn Amina's studio, not knowing she was his half-sister. Family reunion. Amina whispered as Emika collapsed, sobbing. Obina hauled Emika to a live news camera. "Tell them." He pressed the pistol to Emika's cheek. "Or I'll paint the bridge with your other eye." Trembling, Emika confessed. Victoria's crimes, his own coup, and Obina's innocence. Across Lagos, screens flickered with the truth. As the police closed in, Obina turned to Amina. "The empire's yours if you want it." She stared at the skyline, her city, her scars, her story. Then at Adana, bleeding but alive. At Ngozi, cradling her unborn child. And finally at Obina, not a king, just a man. "Burn it," she said. 1 year later, the ashes of Ease Holdings fertilized something new. Amina's art collective, built on her studio's ruins. Adana's trauma center, funded by anonymous donations. And Obina, stripped of wealth but not purpose, teaching street kids to box. On the anniversary of the fire, Amina returned to the bridge. Obinna met her there, a single question in his eyes. She answered it with a kiss and a charcoal sketch of their future. The flames consumed E's tower at dawn, a controlled inferno that turned billion-naira secrets into charcoal confetti. Amina stood with the crowd, watching the glass monolith groan and collapse. Not as a victim this time, but as an architect. Obinna's hand found hers in the smoke. "You sure about this?" She answered by pulling out a charcoal stick and sketching the tower's silhouette mid-fall on the nearest wall. Not as a monument to destruction, but as the first stroke of something new. 6 months later, the ruins of Victoria's empire became 1. The Phoenix Collective, a free art school where street kids traded trash for brushes. 2. Adana's Asylum, a mental health clinic disguised as a jazz lounge with bulletproof glass. 3. Ngozi's Revenge, a daycare center built atop Emeka's penthouse, funded by his seized assets. But the crown jewel? The E's mural. Amina painted it across the tower's last standing wall. A 50-foot phoenix with Victoria's face in the flames, Obinna's scars as feathers, and Adana's tears as rain. The city came to see it. The president praised it. And one night, Obinna kissed her in its shadow, his lips tasting of spray paint and second chances. Only Adana noticed the mural's bottom right corner, left deliberately incomplete. When she asked why, Amina handed her a brush. Because some stories need more hands. Adana's first stroke was clumsy. Her 100th, perfect spiral Adeban Joss fingerprint. On the anniversary of the bridge, Obinna took Amina to the lagoon's edge. "I lied that night," he admitted. "I wasn't sure we'd survive." From his pocket, he pulled a charred sketchbook page, her very first drawing of him, salvaged from the yacht wreck. Amina laughed, then kissed him until the street kids whistled. Some fires don't destroy, they forge. Amina woke to the sound of screaming. Outside the Phoenix Collective, her 50-foot Phoenix mural had been defaced. Not with graffiti, with fire. The words "the truth will burn again" blazed across the artwork in gasoline-fed letters, the flames licking at Victoria's painted face. And beneath it, a single object, a child's bracelet, the twin to the one Adebanjo left her. Engraved, "For Amara, from your real father." Police lights painted the crowd in strobes of blue and red. Amid the chaos, a figure watched from the shadows. A girl no older than 16, her eyes the same burnt umber as Amina's. "Who?" Obinna started. Amina's blood ran cold. "Amara, my half-sister, Adebanjo's other daughter." The pieces crashed together. Victoria had stolen 2 girls from Adebanjo. Amina was placed with the Lawals. Amara was raised by someone else. And now, she wanted revenge for the father neither of them got to keep. Back inside, Amina found a sketchbook placed deliberately on her desk. Every page held the same scene, refined over years. Amina's face, half-burned, with the words "you left me behind" carved into the paper. The last page was fresh. Tonight, midnight, where it all burned. Amina knew the place, the ruins of Adebanjo's studio. But when she and Obinna arrived, they found no Amara, no weapons, just a child's coffin filled with charred sketchbooks. And atop it, a note: "You built a kingdom on our father's bones. Now watch it fall." By dawn, 1. Adana's Asylum received 42 roses, 1 for each Calabar victim, dipped in neurotoxin. 2. Ngozi's daycare was flooded with audio of Emeka's screams from prison. 3. And the Phoenix Collective? Every student's artwork had been replaced with Amara's signature spiral. Amina's phone buzzed with a video. Amara, her face eerily calm, holding a lighter to a canvas of Amina and Obinna sleeping. "Meet me at the tower ruins. Alone." A pause. Then, "Or I'll burn every child's drawing in Lagos." As the screen went dark, Obinna grabbed Amina's wrist. "We don't even know who raised her." Then the TV news cut in. Breaking. Chief Okon released on technicality. The camera panned to his triumphant smirk and the spiral scar on his right hand. Amina's world tilted. Okon was Amara's foster father, and had just armed a girl with nothing left to lose. Amina went alone, as Amara demanded. The skeletal remains of E's tower loomed against the stormy sky, its broken edges like claws scraping the heavens. At its base stood Amara, a slight figure in a tattered hoodie, her fingers stained with charcoal and gasoline. Amina approached slowly, hands raised. "I didn't know you existed." Amara's laugh was brittle. "Of course you didn't." She made sure of that. She kicked over a can of paint thinner, the acrid smell flooding the air. "Victoria took everything. Our father, our childhood, even our grief." Amina reached into her bag and pulled out Adeban Joss' last sketchbook, the one shed salvaged from the vault. "He never forgot you," she said, flipping to a hidden page. There, in smudged charcoal, was a baby girl with spiral curls, captioned, "Amara, my hidden light. Find her when the war is over." Amara's breath hitched. For the first time, the fury in her eyes wavered. A shadow moved behind the rubble. Okon. His gold-capped teeth gleamed as he stepped into the moonlight, a pistol dangling from his fingers. Touching, he sneered. "But family reunions bore me." He raised the gun, not at Amina but at Amara. "You failed, girl. Now watch what real power looks like." Amina lunged. Bang. But it wasn't Okon's gun that fired. Adana stood atop a broken pillar, smoke curling from her rifle barrel. Okon collapsed, clutching his knee, howling. "Sorry I'm late," Adana called. Traffic was hell. Amina turned back to Amara, who stood frozen, a lighter trembling in her hand. "You can burn it all down," Amina said softly, "or you can help me rebuild." She held out a fresh charcoal stick. For a heartbeat, the city held its breath. Then Amara dropped the lighter and took the charcoal. 1 year later, the Phoenix mural got an update. Amara's spirals now wove through the phoenix's feathers. Okon's bullet hole became the bird's piercing eye. And the unfinished corner? Now a rotating exhibit, where street kids added their own stories. As for the siblings, Amina Viobina opened a boxing gym for artists. "Throw punches, not paint," he joked. Adana adopted Amara, who now ran the collective's youth program. And Ngozi's daughter, toddling through the gallery, became the mural's youngest contributor. On the anniversary of the fire, they all gathered at the tower ruins. Amara handed Amina a gift, a sketchbook, its first page blank. "For the next chapter," she said. As the sun set, Amina drew a single line, not an ending, but a beginning.